to sweep it away. 28 seconds. The crowd going insane. Carlemont shooting it into the American end again. Morrow is back there. Now Johnson, 19 seconds. Johnson over to Ramsey. Bilyaletdinov gets checked by Ramsey. McClanahan is there. The puck is still loose. 11 seconds. You've got 10 seconds. The countdown going on right now. Morrow up to Schultz. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles?
We interrupt this program for a Primetime News Network special report. The deadline for the Primetime UGC mission contest has passed. So far, we're going to consider only 2 entries. One of you will walk away with a Ferengi Decora. It's unfortunate that more of you did not participate. Crap, you can see me. Anyway, we've got a pared-down show for you tonight, mainly because it's got 2 great interviews that I just didn't have the heart to cut up into little pieces. So you'll be getting them in their entirety. We also have the news segment, and next time we'll be getting back to our original format. Please enjoy the show. I think you'll find it quite informative. Now back to our regularly scheduled program.
And now the news. And we'll start tonight with the winner of the 3rd Foundry Challenge, XR377, with his mission, One Too Many. Additionally, since our last recording, there have been 4 spotlights chosen for the Foundry. They were Honor of Prophet by Bazag, Conjoined by Denizen 6, General Rebellion by Captain P.F. Dennis, I know that name from somewhere, and Grazarak City by Wogue HD. Also, we saw the release of the June Ask Cryptic, which had a number of Foundry-related questions in it. One question from Kirkfat was regarding whether or not good missions in the Foundry should get some form of reward for being played, to which Dan Stahl did agree that yes, and they do have an intent to change this. They plan to add a feature to the mission journal that will spotlight missions much the same way that the featured missions were allowed to. This will allow them to add premium rewards to missions that get recognized and allow for them to rotate in new missions. They plan to have the ball rolling on this shortly after the release of Season 6. Another question came from Q400 of whether or not we would see any major changes to the Foundry. Dan responded that it depends on what you define as major. Season 6 is a massive overhaul of the Foundry, but a lot of their focus was on keeping the legacy missions that have been created already operational come the time of the change, and not repeat the problems that occurred with the release of Season 4. There are plans, of course, to bring in new assets, new maps, UI improvements, and editing features, but the bulk of what will happen won't occur until after the final Neverwinter build of the Foundry for their system goes in, and they're able to start porting parts into our code base. That could still be some time, as the beta for Neverwinter has not been officially announced yet, but they are still, as far as we're aware, shooting for the end of the year this year for launching their systems. Diogenes Zero asked for more Foundry versatility and would prefer to have something that would allow us to create fully custom interior and ground maps. To this, Dan replied that What he was asking for was more of the ability to mod a game, such as some people have done with games such as Homeworld or Free Space or some of the others where they changed skins and all that. For various reasons, mostly involving security, he said that this is not going to happen. Their goal in creating the Foundry was not to create a mod tool, but to allow players to have a editor similar to what they use and to be able to create something more freely. Fleet Admiral Joy asks, will there ever be the ability to add archives for the Foundry in order to save maps and costumes to keep from importing? To this, Dan replied that our frustrations have been heard, and they're working on getting this into the Neverwinter Foundry as one of their top development goals. They have not worked out the specifics of it yet due to problems with libraries and asset sharing, and we have no ETA on whether or not it will be in at any point in the near future, but they do really want to try and get this in. We can only hope, as it is a frustrating act to try and do anything involving sharing or moving bits inside of your mission. Tribble also got a number of updates this past few weeks. Many Foundry editions went in, including a number of new assets, plus a number of new maps. While we didn't get all of the maps that have gone in lately, we did finally get in the TOS interior and bridge set, a number of space maps for around the Sol system, plus several other bridge locations, including the Bortas and the Odyssey. We ask that anyone with the inclination to go forward and start testing all of these items to make sure they are as bug-free as possible before they get launched onto Holodeck. As far as bugs go, there are a number of bugs located in the triple build, which is why we make a request that any and all players capable of go forward and test out the Foundry on triple. It's not required to build a large-scale mission, such as Captain P.F. Dennis or myself would make, but enough to test the functionality of the various systems and make sure they are as bug-free as possible. Some of the animations are actually a little glitchy, to say the least, but if we can get this to be as fully operational as it can by the time Season 6 rolls around, it will make everybody's quality of life greater.
Welcome to Primetime UGC's guest author interview. Tonight, we are pleased to have with us a man you may be familiar with through his work as a Foundry author and as well as a podcaster. He is sometimes controversial and always entertaining. Welcome, please, Havraha. Thanks for coming on, Hav. When did you first start playing STO and, by extension, the Foundry?
I started playing Star Trek Online pretty much in close beta. I was one of the earliest registers on the website. I'm older than I was, at least before they redid the website. I was older than most of the devs who registered on the thing. I registered as soon as I found out that Cryptic had took control over Star Trek Online as a development studio, because I thought the game was dead. I was very sad that the game was dead. I was following back when it was at Perpetual, and then when I was excited to see that it was still alive. And so I registered as soon as that occurred. And I also got the 6-month subscription and pre-ordered to Champions Online when it first came out. So I got the closed beta access and have been playing it ever since then. When I first joined the Foundry, it's a bit harder to tell. I mean, I was messing with it back when it was in beta still on Tribble, and I do know that for a fact, because I had I made a big deal about getting my stuff on Holodeck when it first launched, and I was messing with things in Foundry for a very long time, and had even rebuilt an entire mission, which is that mission to Helena and back, on Tribble. And when launch day came on Holodeck, I took the entire day off, just not even didn't even go to school, and sat down and sat in that chair for 9 hours and ported, with using 2 monitors, ported that mission from Tribble to Holodeck so I could have it in there day one.
Used to call that hard to port.
Yep, that's hard to port.
How about Helena? When did she come about?
The Helena character was invented for the Foundry. I was actually had entirely different missions planned for my first mission. My first mission I ever planned was supposed to be a mission called The Science of Salots. It was going to be a mission where you had someone had been genetically engineering with Salots, and they were trying to make them more pack predators and pack oriented. So I was going to have all this this high tech stuff of ordering around Salots to attack people, what have you, and didn't realize until it came out on Tribble that I couldn't do that. So I thought, well, what else can I do? And my idea was, why not make a mission that felt very Star Trek, that felt like something that would happen on Star Trek, but you don't see in STO. And so I kept thinking back to that one episode archetype that happens at least once, if not twice, a season in Star Trek series, which is the bridge officer gets abducted. Someone from the crew, the main cast, is stolen and kidnapped. Oh, you have to help her. And I thought, well, how can I do that? I can't really take control over anyone else's bridge officer and declare who they are and what their history is, or what have you. So I went, well, I'll just make people a bridge officer that designed them, and say this is this character. And I tried to engineer it in such a way that I knew it probably wouldn't clash with anything they had going on. Like, for instance, I figured no one probably knew what their astrometric scientist is on their ship.
Right.
Who cares about that? Who's their stellar cartographer? No one ever thinks about who their stellar cartographer is, because no one ever thinks about stellar cartography as being that important on a ship. So I went, that's what she's going to be. That's why you never heard of her before. She's one of these lowly little characters, like a Barkley or whatever. I started thinking about what would I want to make her, and I thought, very, very, it would have been very easy to make her an attractive female character or whatever. But I thought, people give Rigelians a lot of crap, and I don't understand that. I really like those. I think they look cool, for one. I think they look very alien, and they're very much from later Star Trek, designs of aliens when they really try to make them look a little bit less humanoid. And
right.
I always enjoyed that. And people have been telling me, why do you like Rigelians so much? They're ugly. They have no noses. What would that's Paul's favorite thing. She doesn't have a nose. How can you appreciate something that doesn't have a nose or whatever? So I went, that just reinforces my want even more to make this character a Rigelian. And because now I'm forcing you to see something of value within something that you didn't see before. You have to go find Helena and rescue her and see value in that character. And I was hoping overall with doing that to change people's opinions of Rigelians on a whole, and not judge them so visually, or at least judge them so negatively visually. And it seems to have worked so far, because I've seen a lot of Rigelians running around in SDO, and a lot of people that didn't like the character dig Rigelians now and dig Helena. So
you've said before that you hold yourself to a high standard, higher than most other authors, and you get disappointed when people don't do great work. What is the greatest Foundry mission that you have played so far? This is not really difficult. This is not hard for me to pick, and it's not surprising. I know a lot of people wish they I pulled something out of my hat that no one ever heard of, some indie mission that was like, I haven't played that before, let's go play it. But anything from pretty much Alamac 30 is fantastic. Most of the mains of Valor, I'm more of a fan of the City of the Polmari, which that one really hit home for me as a, because I'm much into international political intrigue and those sort of things. That floats my noodle a bit, and I go, yeah, I like that. So that kind of story hit off for me. The other one that I would say was probably my early favorite before City of the Polmari came out was Rogue Enterprise's mission, First Time Then Effect.
Oh,
I do believe.
Yeah, First Cause Then Effect.
First Cause Then Effect. I haven't played that one in a while. I'm actually surprised I could pull the name out of my hat like that anyway. But it was, for when it came out, and for what it is, and actually even still, one of those like, oh my god, spectacular missions of him experimenting with the Foundry and finding ways to do things that no one ever thought how to do before. I'm still actually not quite 100% sure how he did some of the stuff, which includes placing the spawn point on the next trigger point, ensuring you would die. Where exactly do you have to cross the trigger point before it happens? When does the spawn point? It's crazy to me how he went about doing the you're supposed to die mechanic of it, which is very difficult. Those 3 or so missions are combating to me like top number one place. There's other great missions. Old Lord Skull has his 3-hour long what was that called? The second to last outpost.
Yep. Which
was a tremendous mission. It just goes down. You just go down the list. I've played a lot of them, and some of them haven't been featured yet or spotlighted yet, which which bothers me.
What do you think about how little progress has been made in the Foundry since you first made, say, Prima Donna?
Oh, a little progress. Well, I mean, it progress from different angles, right? There's
as far as updates.
Upgrades, right? People making things in the Foundry themselves, they make tremendous progress in coming up with new things. One of the newest things being, the in-map transfers. That's great progress of conceptualizing new things, but that is built from necessity, from us having to work around the fact that, like you're saying, there are no new updates in the Foundry. So people are having to be inventive, come up with new things to do. What I think about that? Well, I think that sucks. and people need to get on it over there in the development studio and get us all those new goodies. Now, that being the case, we do know there's good goodies coming out in Tribble, in the Foundry, and I've seen a lot of them. I've looked at them. A lot of them confuse the crap out of me. I'm intimidated as all get out with some of them.
Yeah.
But most of the things are new cool assets coming out, and I look forward to them. Of course, I think the biggest thing for me would be if we could ever get some sort of three-dimensional map editor. That would make the world of difference for me. But overall, it's kind of depressing that we haven't had this. We're very much treated as Star Trek Online is very much treated as this guinea pig for Foundry. How well does the Foundry do? Can people actually do good things with the Foundry, or is it all going to be trash missions? 90% of them are probably trash missions, honestly. That's the sad part about it. But for the most part, you get these excellent, practically works of arts that outshine what Cryptic has done possible. And it's therefore it makes it all worth it to me. That it justifies them at least putting SDO into the game as a guinea pig, because all these good things have come from it. Of course, I prefer if they buckled down and gave us a little bit more of what they have cooking for Neverwinter, or just come back in and fix some of the bugs. I'm a big bug finder. I'm happy with this.
I think they're very much afraid that if they change it, they're playing with the code base, and if they had to strip it down and start from scratch, it'd be a lot easier. But nobody wants to lose their work.
No, and I think a lot of what the time has taken to implement things already is because they're putting things into the code base that would guarantee our missions not break horribly. You can see some on the Tribble right now, some behaviors that are legacy, quote unquote, behaviors, and I don't see any other purpose to them other than making sure that missions don't break with the new kind of combat behaviors that are being implemented into the game. So I think the breaking is not going to be that much of an issue, but it is something that I would imagine would be slowing them down.
Since you've gotten a chance to play around on Tribble as a seasoned Foundry author, what do you think of the changes to the editor, for example? I'm always frustrated and confused when things change just the way they've done. I'm more so somebody that likes things being built on top of. So once you've built the base of your pyramid, you just kind of keep building on it. It seems like some of the things that are going on with the Foundry right now are things that are like, we've built the base of the pyramid, but now we're going to chip away at our pyramid a bit and rebuild it to build some more stuff on top of it. So the pyramid's going to be more of a ziggurat than a pyramid or something. It's going to change it up a little bit. That sort of changing and building confuses me, because I'm very much, I want stuff to build, things I learned to build on top of themselves. And right now, more so what I'm looking at in Tribble is I'm going to have to unlearn a lot of things and then relearn them. Now I'm going to have to go back and force myself to figure out how this stuff works. Things like having to put down a map box now and then putting objectives inside your map box is just kind of counterintuitive to how I work. But what gives you is you have a lot of different. I can see why they did it though, and a lot of it's because A, things in the Foundry were intuitive, and B, people build their missions in different ways. So there's multiple ways to build your mission in the Foundry now that makes it a bit more confusing on the surface than it probably actually is. I'll give them credit and say it's probably a bit better designed than I actually understand it because I haven't toyed with it too much. That's my initial reaction to it, as being a little bit too complicated for my own tastes.
What about Enterprise separates it from the rest of the series for you?
What separates Enterprise to me is there is a realisticness of Enterprise that I kind of wish was more so adopted by Star Trek. Things as simple as the utilitarian, almost submarine design of the spaceship, the utilitarian uniforms. They started to take things with the art direction that into a more realistic universe, and instead of we're all going to wear pajamas and fly around in space kind of universe that Star Trek was before. That immediately attracted me to Enterprise, and I kind of hoped it would catch on. It doesn't seem like it's catched on at all to me, which aggravates me to a small degree. But story wise, what separated it was that Star Trek Enterprise was bold enough to try a lot of conflicting drama that most Star Treks probably outside of Deep Space Nine were probably a bit too afraid to do. And at least Voyager, you probably say there's a lot of conflicting drama there. I think a lot of that's because of very stupid, poor writing. What was bold about Enterprise is that main characters and characters that you wanted to believe were flawless and great had major flaws. And they were flaws by design. And people would improve as the series went on and come to new revelations about what should be done and how things should be operated. Like with Archer. Archer was very much when the show started out was a racist Boy Scout. He had his ideology. This is the way things should be done, but humanity should do it, and we shouldn't be held by these Vulcans. And he couldn't wait to get out in space, but then he'd run into some sort of situation dealing with an alien and just be like, "What? Do I really have to deal with these people? These people are frustrating. They're stupid. Their culture makes no sense." And he was very much the average, ordinary person out in space, being the captain role. And people that watch Star Trek go, this is not a captain, but this is probably a more realistic captain on a first starship than anything that we've ever seen before. And these superhero characters like James Kirk, or whatever, that attracted me. And as the show goes on, you see that Archer has to put racism and things aside with the Xindi conflict, and ultimately, as the series ends, unites all the major races of the quadrant into a federation of planets, and he has to push his own fears aside to make that happen. Nothing, therefore, expresses on screen this desire of Roddenberry's that humanity improves as it goes forward into the future. We've always heard that, but we've never seen it. We've always just been preached to. Picard was a big preacher. Look at those ancient, archaic, stupid humans being racist and bigots, as he's racist and bigot himself on screen at certain points in time. It's like, it's weird. You don't ever see it happen. And in Enterprise, you saw it happen. You saw Archer go from bad to good, which I thought was strong and at least bold writing, if not, there's flaws in writing everywhere on these TV shows. And people will argue, well, T'Pol shouldn't have done drugs and what have you. And I don't know. You're getting picky about how bold is too bold and how far is too far. But as the show progressed, it got better and better, and it was canceled in its prime. It got good, and that's really kind of where TNG got good too, season 4.
What was the genesis of doing a podcast about the Foundry?
The genesis of that was Red Shirt Army. Blame Red Shirt Army. If you hate me, blame them, because they wanted to. They were looking for hosts, and they actually requested Kirkfat to come on and be a host for them. And Kirkfat said, I can't do that. My interest is over here at Starbase UGC, and he recommended me. And I thought, ooh, that's interesting, because let's just say I'm egotistical enough to actually venture into the realm of podcasting. It was something that attracted. It was, ooh, I'll do that. To me, but they never called. They never gave me a ring. They had no interest in me. Could tell it kind of disappointed Kirkfat. And I walked away for a bit and came back and went, what if we did our own podcast? And Kirkfat was like, yeah, let's do it. And I went, okay, you and me. He went, no way. He wanted nothing to do with it. He said he wanted more people on the website to take a more center stage role, and not the website not just be about him. So I built up a little logo, because I'm a graphic designer, and showed it to him and didn't think much of it. I did it in like 30 minutes, by the way. Next thing I know, I wake up the next day and he's posted the logo to the main website going, coming soon, podcast UGC. And I went, no, I don't even have co-host yet. I can't do this on my own. You can't, now I have people's eyes on me looking for it to either sink or swim. And I was kind of screwed until this guy walked into the Starbase UGC chat room back when I was really circulating it. And his name looked like it was All Texas. I couldn't figure out, what's All Texas mean? And I was explaining to him my problem, and he said, I can do podcasting. I can help you out there. And I talked to him over Skype, and he sounded like he had a pretty good voice. I was really worried people would be like, with their little podcast voice trying to come on and be on the show. So he sounded good. He said, I have two friends. I have one that's a girl. I'm like, good, we need girls. And he said, I have one that's really kind of a Foundry tech guru already. He knows how to do things that I haven't seen before in the Foundry. And I said, well, bring him in. The more the merrier. And he brought in Terry and Nemesis Chicken. And the four of us talked for about 5 minutes. And I hit the record button. And we recorded episode 1 of Podcast UGC right about there. Not really knowing any of each other outside of about 5 minutes. And so that was the genesis of the entire thing. And you can go back and listen to Podcast UGC episode 1. Everyone else is really quiet, and I am talking at the speed of light. And considering how much of a minor speech impediment I have, I still listen back to that and think, how did I not trip up on my words? Because I was talking so incredibly fast. I was so nervous in that first couple of episodes. But it worked out. It worked out pretty well. And we are here, and I like to think, at least podcast-wise, our appeal is our personalities and the fact that we'll tell it like it is. We are very much an opinion show. And if you don't want to hear opinions, if you want to hear news, I mean, there's plenty of other podcasts for that. But if you want opinions, and opinions are not always the same, very, very striking, harsh,
right,
combating opinions, we're the show to come to, because we are definitely made up of people that have differing opinions on all subjects, everything, and with different strengths and weaknesses in different areas, and being able to say, that's okay, throw that at me, and I will hit it. That kind of comes from my own personal philosophy of combating ideas, and ideas only improve when you throw them into the wild and make them sink or swim again in the death fight with other ideas that kind of, I guess, breeded that concept of how a show format should be. And we got listeners. I don't know how many we have. Well, I till this day, I just don't know how many people listen to our show. But apparently enough, because every once in a while I'll pop into a STF with people in the game and they go, wait, are you the Hav? And I'll go, yay, someone knows me. Go play my missions. Leave me tips.
For all these new free-to-players coming in and going into the Foundry, what do you think your best piece of advice would be to them?
More seriously, I mean, the best piece of advice if you actually want to learn the Foundry is go to starbaseugc.com, look at reviews, ask for help, go to the chat room and say, well, I'm looking for how to do this. Can someone point me in the direction? Because that will help you a lot out too. Another thing to do is learn to write. And this is like, I say that it kind of sounds mean, but I learned to actually write and write well through some role-playing, some Star Trek role-playing from many years back. And at the time being, it was very important because I didn't realize I wrote so poorly. I thought I wrote just as well as everybody else did. Kind of like when you look in the mirror and you think you look really good, but everyone else says, nope, you're ugly. You have like your mind is a little bit biased to you. In the same sense, when you're writing, your mind is biased to you. Everything you're writing is great, and that's how typos get through and all kinds of things. And if you just don't know stuff, if you don't know that you're not supposed to put 8 periods for an ellipsis, it looks perfectly fine to you at that point in time. So what you really need to do is you need to write stuff, and you need to give it to someone else that actually knows how to write and say, proof this for me, read this for me, and let them mark it up in red. What they changed and where things should be, because that is kind of how you get good at grammar and writing and spelling, and that's the most important thing for a Foundry mission, because I cannot tell you how much of a weeding process it is to actually just click through missions and read descriptions and see how poorly someone has just written that intro description and gone, whoa, I can tell this mission's crap, and not bother even playing it, because usually if you can't write well, so much of the Foundry is story, your story is not going to be told very well, and that kind of defeats a lot of the purpose to even playing it. So if you can write a good description, at least grammatically correct, spelling correct, that's about 90% of the way towards getting someone to actually bother playing your stuff, because then that alone is going to convince them that maybe the story here is actually going to be presented well, and that's why I'm playing this for anyway, because we all know the XP in the Foundry sucks.
Well, we'd like to thank you, Hav, for coming on Primetime UGC.
Come with me if you want to live.
She's my cross to bear.
To Tribble, we saw the launch of the colony invasion, the no-win scenario, and, with the advent of the Starbase system going on to Tribble, Starbase alerts. Colony invasion and no-win scenario are 5-man group missions designed to repel invaders from either a ground map of colony invasion, or the no-win scenario is to defend a transport against increasingly difficult waves of enemy forces to either defeat them all or until the transport is destroyed. Additionally, we saw the release of the Armitage Heavy Escort to the Sea Store. This ship, which boasts a console that allows for a large spread of torpedoes to be fired, is not available in the Foundry as of yet, and we can hope that this model is made available to us soon. Also, we had a release of a Duty Officer Reinforcement Pack. This pack has an assortment of new DOFs, and also the Tufli class freighter is a special added bonus to this. This freighter, which has a new interior map, looks like the standard stock freighters in the STO universe, but provides numerous bits of functionality. It is, of course, a random drop inside of the Duty Officer pack. No idea of the rarity, but it's safe to assume that it's probably as rare as the other ship drops in containers. We also found out, touching back on Neverwinter, that lifetime subscribers will have beta access to Neverwinter Online, and, assuming that it's there available at that time, access to the Neverwinter Foundry. Also, the 900-day rewards were announced. This is a new ship material that adds a more, for lack of a better term, Tron aspect to ships, as well as a change to the Jupiter Veteran costume, which will allow a gold-toned option as opposed to the silver that originally launched with it. A feature referred to as Account Guard was launched as well. This is another layer of security to protect against unwarranted access to personal records for various accounts. Another guest blog was also put up on the STO website from the STF Raiders. This blog focused on running the STF missions and the various tips and tricks that they suggest. Many are aware of this within the past 2 weeks of the forums change that was made. The STO forums were moved over into the PWE network officially after a scheduled maintenance, and this created a great deal of havoc and broken issues. Within the past week, a basic apology was released, making up for that they had dropped the ball in regards to this. It is our hope that this will be the only time that such incidents occur, though there are some who are skeptical of this learning process. As part of the interviews from around the galaxy, Priority 1 was granted an interview with Dan Stahl, and not just one, but 2 interviews with Captain Gecko, 1 regular interview, and 1 that was a supplement that focused primarily on ships. We also found out within the past weeks that both Heretic and Gozer will be leaving the Cryptic team to pursue other opportunities. Heretic was interviewed by UFP recently in regards to fleet star bases and other items. And now to touch on something that came up earlier, the forum change. The forum change came as a surprise to a great many of us, and for anyone who uses the Foundry, they were required to link their account to the Perfect World system, as the forums are the primary conduit with which to inform the development team of issues inside the Foundry. This change was given to us without any forenotice, and that's probably the crux of most of the people who made complaints against it. There's a forum thread that contains a number of the changes that were made and the request to have them reverted.
Attention all crew members. We are taking on a special passenger. I've asked your captain to make sure you'll all be on your best behavior while she's on board. I expect that you will follow these orders to the letter. At least I hope you will. So as a personal favor to me, please don't do anything stupid, like get drunk, seal yourself inside the engine room and sing. That's really embarrassing. Dennis out. Ready, cast? Do it. Welcome aboard. I think we'll be more comfortable on the bridge. we'd like to welcome ZeroniusRex to the show. We'll start off with the basics. What is it that you do for Cryptic?
So my job title at Cryptic is assistant producer. I am in charge of producing the ship team, the effects team, and the foundry as it pertains to STO. And I'm also the, I guess you could say, build release producer. So I, on a day-to-day basis, I'm checking in with the guys on the ship team and effects teams and seeing, how are they doing on their tasks and, following up like, okay, this is due today. Am I going to have it today? Or, that kind of thing. And then as far as builds go, for example, we have a build coming out this week that'll have veteran rewards in it. And so this week I'm tracking to make sure, are all those things done? What are the bugs that are in there? Can we get them all fixed? I hope so. And, how's this look? And then I actually make the build and get it to QA and organize with them, all that kind of thing. Right now it feels a little hectic because I'm managing, 3 builds that we're working on, the one for Holodeck, the one for Tribble last week, and the one upcoming for Tribble this week, and soon to be the one for Tribble next week.
Okay.
But,
that's
and
a lot.
on top of the other stuff, it kind of doesn't seem like much, and then some days I sit around going, what am I supposed to be doing? And then other days, last night I was at work till 11:30 because I just didn't have enough time in the day.
We've seen a list of a few upgrades to the Foundry on Tribble now. A big question from the threads is, have we seen it all, or is there much more to come?
For Season 6, basically all of the features, all the new features, are on Tribble right now. We did, ahead of time, before it even went to Tribble, we had to take a hard look at what new features were possibly available and say, and I did some rough testing for them actually, and say look, there's no way we're going to get the issues with this fixed for Season 6, and so we pulled it out because I don't want to tease people and put something out and then have to pull it out, which is actually, I ended up having to do that anyway, and I felt horrible. But so for new features, it's set. For new assets, it's not. I know that was another question I saw. We are definitely getting more assets. I had hoped that by the time we recorded this, the build would be on Tribble, but it isn't. Maybe by the time it's heard. We have, I think it's something like 20 new maps that we're putting in as template maps.
Excellent.
And some of them are never before seen anywhere. So they're not even in the game that you can play on them yet. So I think that's going to be cool. I won't...
Yeah.
I'm sure by the time we hear this, it won't be a spoiler, but you'll see it. I think they're neat. And the ones not before seen are all space maps. But some of the ground maps we're adding are the Colosseum, and from Cutting the Cord, we're adding Brea, probably. It's crashing right now, so we'll see about that one. A few others that, off the top of my head, I can't remember the list. So we're adding that, and we do have someone going through and adding things as we can, and I'm hoping that we can maintain that, rather than having to play catch-up months later. Maybe we can do it more as on a regular basis.
Well, that sounds great. I'm looking forward to seeing these never-before-seen maps.
Right? They're super special.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Me and actually the artist doing this, y'all don't realize what a labor of love it is. It takes about 4 hours, I think, per map to add it. I mean, it's not an insignificant amount of time to add new maps, which is why it takes a while, because that is half a day of time we could be doing something else. But
Wow.
he is new to the art team. I don't know if I should give spoilers, but he used to be the main Foundry tester after me. So after I left and was not doing testing anymore, he took my place for testing the Foundry, and now he has left. We have a new tester because he's doing art for the Foundry, which I thought was appropriate. The best part is he's fixing some of the bugs that he entered.
Now that we know that, all the new mechanics are all on Tribble now, some of these questions about are we getting this and are we getting that have already been answered.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are going crazy. They want NPCs to disappear.
The thing is, that's not a simple thing on the tech side either. It may seem like it, but you would have to do a whole lot of validation checking, you know, like, can we let this guy go now? Or is there a thing later that depends on him being here? And then what happens if later, like, what if we validate and, okay, we let him disappear because you have nothing else, and then you add another thing in that relies on him being present, and then what happens then? And so it seems like a really simple thing, but there is more to it than just like click a button and go.
I think Mark H2O Rat explained it as, you know, if they move, they disappear, they would actually just be moving to a different part of the map where they wouldn't be visible.
Frequently, I'm not positive that's how we do it, but I'm pretty sure that is. That, you know, like, we wave the magic wand and they disappear, but really they're just like hiding in a corner.
Another one was the dialogue pop-up for the players themselves. That's something we've been missing. When you write dialogue.
The doppelganger. Yeah, we don't even have the availability to do that in our own missions. So
right.
Step one would be allow the Cryptic designers to do it.
Right.
And it is something that we've talked about is like, wouldn't this be cool? But, you know, there's so many things that would be cool that some things slip. You know?
Yeah. I mean, a blank one wouldn't be bad. Just something with no picture in it.
Or silhouette.
Yeah.
What I thought of is like, but the problem is, you could do a simple, like, male silhouette and female silhouette, but then, like, what if you have an alien? You know, like...
True.
You don't fit in. I don't know. Like, we've tried to, like, come up with a bunch of different ways that we could fake it, and it was actually fairly difficult, which I found interesting.
Actually, when I do it, I use the Prop Federation console, and it just shows just like a little... I don't even know what to call it, but it's unrecognizable.
It shows the column because for whatever reason the camera defaults to showing the neck of the column and not actually the console.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's appropriate. It's actually not bad. So.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the lack of these things, from what I've seen, as much as people want new features, I feel like the more limited the tool set, the more creative the authors have been.
That's true.
That's
absolutely true.
I mean, I know for writing in general, if you are given like, okay, write anything, it's really hard to come up with a story. But if you're given a prompt like, tell me about your summer vacation when you were 12, it'd be much easier to come up with that story. So, but we want it. I mean, we're just like you guys. Like, everything that would be more fun, it's like, yeah, let's get that. But then they tell us, guys, that's a lot of work, or you're crazy.
This is from Drogan1701. He asks, what did Destall mean when he said that Foundry missions might be used to replace existing content?
So I actually, when I saw that question, I went and I talked to Destall, and what he said is we don't have any plans to replace existing content. What we do want to do is have a better way of featuring Foundry missions. Kind of, our current Foundry Spotlight is good, and I think Brandon's doing great stuff finding those things, and I enjoy reading the little blurb every week because I get that put in the bulletin. But we want it there in the journal. You know, we want you to be able to have more than one. We'll have some spotlighted missions that will have rewards tied to them where you don't have to get a separate mission to, like, say, go do this, and then you play 3 and you get your reward. We want to have real missions in there hooked up to get rewards, and so that's something that we're working towards. We don't have it yet. I don't think our plan is to, like, take content and put it in instead of Cryptic stuff, instead of replacing. But we do want to find better ways to get it in there and get it visible. So we're researching a bunch of different things.
Yeah, I always thought it would be cool to, like, put Foundry missions in the the Explore areas.
Yeah, the Star Cluster. My idea, I gave that one a long time ago. Apparently it was not a simple thing, but I really wanted it to be so that, you know, when it's Explore Unknown System, that you had a chance that it would be a Foundry mission. I thought that would be really neat. But
not a 2-hour one, but
that's the problem. Like, then how do you find which one? And then, like, right. Yeah, I don't know.
This is a big one. The rating system.
Ah, yes.
Top 10 missions are the ones that get all the plays, and nobody even sees a majority of the missions that are even in there.
I have requested better rankings. I feel like our search filters are all well and good, but I would like one that shows, you know, a better way to see what's new and a better way to see, like, you know, I mean, ideally, we could do something like Netflix does, but quite frankly, like their search algorithms are, I mean, a trade secret or something. You know, like it's not a minor thing to set up searching that good.
Right.
So, but we definitely, that's part of like how we say we want it to get more visible. So we want it so that we do have more people playing them, and we are definitely looking into like, how do you find them and how are they sorted, and do we need more filters or do we need to adjust the filters we have and that kind of thing. We definitely know that there's work to be done there, and definitely room for improvement.
Well, I'll tell you, I wouldn't mind, before publishing a mission, having to fill out a page with the enemies that we use and say the language it's in and so forth. It wouldn't be too bad to fill in,
Right, so you could have more
that information, tag it.
Essentially, so I've kind of have that as a, like, that would be nice to be able to tag stuff. I was talking with one of the players, I think it was Rogue Enterprise, about how it would be fun to be able to get to say this mission requires a shuttle or a small craft, or this mission requires an EV suit. And so right now it's definitely the case that Neverwinter's needs are driving what new features the Foundry is getting. And then Star Trek gets to, like, we talk with them about it and how can this work for us. But they're definitely doing, like, what works for Neverwinter first. So restricting things to shuttlecraft and EV suits, probably not a huge priority for Neverwinter.
No.
But,
Right.
things along in that vein might be. So it's possible we'll get other cool stuff that's kind of similar. I don't know yet. But we are, it took us a while. Like, the reason there have been not significant Foundry updates is because, we have different, I know this has been explained, but we have different code branches, and all the code changes were in this new branch that we're going to now, and it's non-trivial to go from one to another. So that's why there was a huge delay in any new stuff going in. But we do, we don't want that to be the standard. So we're looking at how we can, make sure that we get, in general, just more updates in without having to wait so long.
Yeah, I think everybody understands that it's a lot harder to upgrade our Foundry. I mean, if we wanted to lose all our stuff and just shut it down and open it back up with all the new Neverwinter code, it would be simpler.
It would be.
The challenge is keeping our older stuff.
Yeah. I know there was a question about that, about what did we learn from Season 4. And I want to address that because we hope that we've learned quite a lot. What we have done is we actually downloaded all of the projects currently on Holodeck. And we have, I think everyone knows about the automatic republish process that happens occasionally. Well, that finds all sorts of validation errors, if there are any to be found. And so we downloaded all of Holodeck's projects and we ran the validation against them. So it would, in essence, be as though we upgraded Holodeck's database and then saw how everything worked on there. And whenever we found issues that the validation reported, we went in and we fixed them where possible. There was like one error that just, it can't be fixed, and there's one thing that will require players to go in and authors to go in and update their mission themselves. But everything else should, knock on wood, be okay. So we have tested that, and I think the fact that pretty much everything on Tribble was okay is a good indicator of that. There were a few issues when we first brought up Tribble, but that was actually unrelated to the data in the project.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to be expecting Season 4 to happen again.
I hope not.
We're hoping that's a distant memory.
Yeah, let's just hope that the forums problem where the Foundry forums disappeared is the extent of it this year.
They disappeared?
Right after they did the conversion, only the mission database forum was visible for a day or so.
I was not on the forums for a few days because I did not anticipate a heavy reaction. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I think the biggest outcry was because there was no warning, more than anything else.
Yeah.
Psychotic Vulcan's question about customizing mobs' weapons and abilities. Yeah, I assume is an attempt to create once again to recreate the boss mob concept.
Right. I don't know what we'll be able to do with that. I mean, maybe so we have it would be our systems team that would do that kind of thing, and they are slammed because the fleet stuff is all systems team, and the duty officers is all systems team, and so they're working quite hard. But perhaps after season 6 we'll have more time, and then maybe we can just make some boss encounters. I would want it personally to make it so that you couldn't just fill a map with them, because we err on the side of like not allowing authors to make really bad missions, or we try to. So, that's part of the, like, you can't completely nerf a NPC group, and the whole using hull breach to exploit stuff. Like, we're trying to like stop those things. So it's this fine line you walk of like how free do you want to allow the authors to like create, missions that might not be that fun. But honestly, I mean, I made a mission that was almost impossible to beat just because I put a ton of ground encounters right on top of you when you spawned in, and they're, because I'm mean. So, I mean, it's possible. Well, but customizing it is kind of like non-trivial. Like, even our content designers, if they want a special encounter thing, like they have to get the systems guys to make them one. They can't just like change some settings and then all of a sudden like they don't click a boss button or anything.
What not ready for primetime feature are you looking forward to getting into testing in the near future?
Well, I hope I'm not going to get in trouble for saying this. There's 2. So everybody knows now about the sudden demise of dialogue with object, and I would like to get that back in, but it requires kind of a lot of work. I feel the way it was implemented for both games, I think it could use some polish because it was missing things that you'd want. Like on the main screen, you couldn't set the actor that you wanted it to go to, right? You had to go to the advanced dialogue and then select the actor there. But there was an animation button, which kind of makes no sense. So it just kind of polished like that. But that would definitely be post season 6. And then the other thing we want to get is it's obvious we added a bunch of new behaviors. Like, who's my favorite? Timid creature, I think it was called.
Is that the one that runs away whenever you get near it?
Yeah, I love that one. So those actually, honestly, they could use a lot of testing because we have been slammed with testing, and so nothing got as much as we'd like internally. I mean, we're working through it, but the other one that I want to see get tested and we had to pull out was patrols. So that would be a new behavior that you would be able to, say, okay, and you lay down points, like go from here to here and that kind of thing. But it was originally, again, like driven by Neverwinter, which has only X and Z in their world, if you will. The Y, in other words, the height from the ground or from 0, doesn't matter so much. And you could see how that might be problematic in like a space map. So we had the NPCs, when we first tried it, they were just like spiraling upward forever because the way our maps are laid out. So, and they weren't, like it was possible to put down just one patrol point, which kind of doesn't make sense. Like you really want to. And so then it was like, how do you deal with that? Do we just fake it? Or so it's not like back to the drawing board, and it doesn't need that much work on our end. It was it's such a big thing to add that like there was just not enough time to get it tested and get any bugs fixed before season 6. So I do hope to get it out after season 6. But it will depend on what kind of issues we find with it. I'm hoping that we find very few and then I can put it in because that would make me very happy. And the other one was another behavior called dead body, which works. It works really well on the ground actually, but again, when you go into space, not so much. So what I'm hoping we can do is get a little thing added so that, you only see patrols that are relevant to the region you're in, right? So if you're in a space map, we do this with animations. If you're on a space map, you can choose warp out as an animation. If you're on a ground map, you should not be able to choose warp out because people don't warp, only ships do. So I want to see something like that, and then it would be easy to get, that added in. But for now, we don't have either of those things. Those are the big ones that would be post season 6, but maybe within a doable time frame. The other huge ones that would be like what's coming up next, the best way to find that out is to get into the Neverwinter beta, because the Neverwinter beta, when they have the Foundry in there, you'll see what have they done for Neverwinter, and can we get that for Star Trek. But I am hoping it's some cool stuff. Their costume editor is weird to me, I'll say that. It's just so different because I'm used to, making spaceships and
Right.
But it's good. It's just so different. So that's the only thing I've played with over there.
I'd like to see disable, to tell you the truth. To be able to stun someone. Or just get them down to a certain point where they submit.
Yeah, I would like that too. Hopefully, now that we have the knowledge to make new behaviors, we'll be able to get someone, because the ones that we have are, again, inherited from Neverwinter, and so I'm hoping that we can get someone on our Star Trek team to, learn that stuff. Or, even I would totally take lessons from this guy and, learn how can I make people be disabled, because that would be super awesome.
Would the patrol, for example, would that get us an upgrade in the pathing AI?
Unrelated.
Oh, well, darn. I was hoping that maybe being able to go from point A to point B would make things not run into doors all the time.
No. So unfortunately, they're two different things. The interesting thing is that the Foundry uses the same pathing stuff that our game does. So everything in the game, they're called beacons, but anyway, those are created the same way. So your AI, it's not perfect even on cryptic maps. Some are worse than others. I think generally speaking, where there are ramps, where there are ramps, there are problems. What am I thinking of? Treasure Trading Station. Oh man, I think the
Joran Fire Caves.
Yeah, the fire caves are. We have our AI guy looking at that. Again, because pathing is the same in literally all our games. I think Champions and Neverwinter use the same pathing stuff. So, getting updates to it is something we would definitely like to do, but it's just one guy. So he's working on that. They're working on some other cool feature I heard about, which we'll see. It's in early, hey, wouldn't this be a neat idea phase? So I'm not going to mention it, but because sometimes things that you think would be a neat idea turn out to be that'll be 10 years worth of work.
What is your favorite Foundry mission that you've played so far?
Can I play favorites? That seems horrible. I should go look in the game and read the descriptions. But I've said it before, and one of my favorites, because I don't actually play all that many. I just, for lack of time, not lack of interest. But I did really like First Cause Then Effect, which I believe is one of Rogue Enterprises. And then the other one was it Too Close, One Dagger? Yeah, I think that was one I liked. And then, I played one by Fox Rocks, but I liked it too. I honestly, they're all so good. All the ones that are not just the kind I make, where it's just kind of like a grind for killing things. Although even those are fun for me because I like just flying around and killing things, quite honestly. I know Chooch99, he's made a few I found really fun. And, yeah, I don't know. And I think most of the ones that we've done the spotlights for are ones I had played, but I can't play favorites. You guys.
Wasn't there another question, Cass, that you were going to ask?
Let's see here. Of course, there's always the what is your favorite series?
TOS! Oh my gosh. No. It's the only one. The only one I watch. And I love it with a passion. So, that's a spoiler. Although it won't be a spoiler by the time it goes live. Is we got the TOS bridge.
Oh.
And, oh my gosh, Drozana Station from the 23rd century.
Oh, that's awesome.
If some of the costumes make it in too, finally, I know that'll make Kirk Fat entirely happy.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't have new costumes yet. That's on the list of things that we want to, get going. Because, like, again, the costume team are, veteran rewards is a costume thing, and then, super secret other stuff that's coming out that I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about with season 6 has been taking a lot of costume team time. So if we get anything from them, it'll be post season 6. And I hope we do because, original series, it's my love.
Fair enough. Does it take about the same amount of time to get a costume hooked into the Foundry as a ground map, or does it take even longer?
I don't actually know as much. So props were actually fairly quick. He did all the props you saw added in a couple days, which was clearly not 4 hours each. I mean, maybe 3 days. But the costumes, it's like, there's 2 different ways they get in there, right? There's the ones where you choose from the pre-made ones that we've put in. That requires them to make those. So that would be like going in and making a costume and saving it out and then putting it in this thing and then saying, okay, hook it up. And then there is the ability to get it so that you can create your custom guy and have them wear the original series stuff. And I actually that's actually why I had to talk to Mr. D'Angelo yesterday, was to ask about how does that whole process work. Because, I've not been on that side of it before about how do we get this hooked up, and because right now, unless I'm mistaken, you really can't get almost any of the stuff that you get through the C-store except for formal and mercenary and the robes and stuff, right? I think those are the only ones you get, and so I want to find out, like, hey, can we add the other C-store stuff, and assuming yes, then what steps do we need to take to do that? So right now we're in a knowledge gathering phase on, like, how do we do that? Because, I mean, somebody knows. It's just that we haven't had to hook that up. But I think the idea that everybody thought it would just work, and clearly it doesn't. So I'm trying to spearhead that because, like I said, original series. I mean, I can't even make my normal costume. Ideally one day we'll have a costume import-export thing, but right now we don't. Hope that helps.
It's an answer, which is better than it's better than nothing.
Well, thank you, Zero, for coming on PrimetimeUGC.
Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Come back again soon.